you know, and they didn't want me to leave. They had these long tables, and on the tables was tables for fingerprinting. They had different men taking pictures. And I said to somebody, why are they taking so many pictures? And finally somebody said, well, there are different organizations here. It didn't make sense to me. But anyway, they fingerprinted me. And when I got to this was a long table, when I got to the end of it, the man there said, well, now you're going to have to take your clothes off. And I said, what do you mean, my clothes off? He said, well, see that girl behind you? She's got some clothes you have to get into. And I turned around and looked, and she had these orange suits. And on the pants leg of one, I saw jail. I said to him, what are you putting me in jail for? You know, what have I done to go that I have to be put in jail? Well, he didn't answer that one, but he said, you just have to take your clothes off and get into those suits. So we went down to the ladies' room and we changed our clothes. And then they took us over to the jail. And they put us in this very dirty room. And we were there for quite a while. The room was so dirty that I didn't even run the water because I thought, man, I guess the water must be dirty too. But anyway, I had been asking for an attorney, and I told them who I wanted. There was only one attorney in town that I would have considered, and he had worked for us one time before. And so I asked for him, and I kept asking for him, and finally he showed up. He said, well, you know, I considered. I said, I know you were considering. And so he had them change us to another room, which was in the medical section, and of course they keep that very clean. And so we were there for quite a while. And finally one day they came and said, one of the attendants said to me, you're going to like it, you're going to Gatesville and you're going to like it there because it's so much nicer than here. And I thanked her, and sure enough, the room was huge, had a big round table with 4 chairs in it, had 2 double beds in it, had our own television and shower, and everything was furnished for us.
Catherine, during that time when you were able to watch the television, you were able to hear and see what was happening to the Branch Davidians, is that correct?
Well, not so much then, because I didn't realize there was much going on. You know, I mean, I didn't know what was going on outside. It was like we were in a place where no one told us anything. When we were there, Judge Green came down and told me that, and told me about what I was being held for. I was being held because I was a murderer. I had conspired to murder and was in conspiracy. So he also told me that one was a life sentence, one was 100 years, and the other was 50 to 75.
And Catherine, how old are you now?
77. Anyway, I didn't say anything. I said, okay, and I walked out. And so the very next day, about 4 o'clock, the same time, they brought me up to the federal building, to the federal court, and he discharged all that was against me, all the things they had told me about. But he said, we want you to be a witness. And that meant to me that they wanted me to talk for them. And I said, well, do you want me to tell the truth? And they said, yes. I said, well, I intend to tell the truth, but I want you to know one thing. I'm for David. But nothing was ever said about that. But he was the one that talked with, well, he knew Oliver Kelly, who was a lawyer down in Killeen. Oliver Kelly, I had met him because he was the lawyer for Margaret. And we had talked a while, and so he had started to think these women shouldn't be in there, you know. And so he knew Kelly because, Green, because he sat on the bench down there, and he had tried many cases before him. So they started to talk about us being in jail. And the judge said, I don't think they should be. And all the Kellys said, I don't think they should be either. So finally he went home and talked to his wife. And he didn't say he wanted to invite us to their home. He talked to his mother, and both of them said, why don't you take them into your home? They had a big house, a very beautiful home, heated swimming pool, you know, the whole works. And their children were grown. And so he talked with Judge Green, and Judge Green made the arrangements. And the next thing we knew, we were going down to Oliver Kelly's home, and we were going to be under house arrest, which was really very nice.
How long were you under house arrest?
About a month over a month. Mm-hmm. But it was really, I really liked it because it was like being in your own place, you know. And they were so kind. They tried to do everything to help us.
Catherine, could we go back in the past a little bit? Didn't Mr. Koresh go out into the community and jog and talk to the neighbors, and wasn't he very friendly? And isn't that what the truth is?
Well, David did not always stay around the camp. He'd get in, and he'd especially go to places that sold. He was a guitarist, and so he'd go to see what they had to look at and see if it was something he needed. And he'd go to all these places that sold this equipment. And so he became very well known in these establishments. Also, he went to a place at the mall called, it was a pub. It was set on the fashion of an English pub. And he went there, and he would play sometimes there. And he allowed them to use his equipment. He was very generous with whatever he had. I mean, if he could help somebody, he would do it. And his equipment was very good, and so he'd let some of these people that were playing there use it. So everybody knew him. He went to a lot of different stores. He went to a lot of different places. And when he'd go, he'd talk to everybody, you know. He was always interested in trying to get them to know what he knew. And if they would listen, he'd tell them. If they didn't, he just dropped it.
Catherine, but is there, why do you believe that this firebomb, this Holocaust, this murder of the children, why did it have to happen?
I really don't know. I don't know what their thinking was, but it's for sure they were talking about saving the children. If that's their idea of saving the children, I don't understand how they thought. Because when the fire was before it was at its height, we had a section in the building that originally had been
started recording
in a huge safe that the Davidians used, and they used to put all the things they wanted to keep in that safe. When there was a fire that took care of the building that was there. It was a huge building. And so when Lois wanted to restore, but we never did. But this cement building was had very thick walls, and it withstood the fire. And David looked it over before we started to build our home. And he said, you know, that is solid. There's no reason why we can't use it. So we built our home around it, and this is what we use for a large refrigerator, a walk-in refrigerator.